to the GSL up and down matches. I am Wolf, with me is Kaldor, and we are basically 2/3 of the way through our group. Possibility for some ties, but take a look at our standings so you can see Keen and Ruin leading the group, but neither of them having a perfect record.
Yeah, we could actually have really interesting situations here if the next games shape up. We could have a couple of different tiebreakers today. And Leenock is going up against Pigbaby next. Both of them meeting in the... Well, Leenock actually the player who didn't win a single game today just yet. And suddenly we're on camera.
Yeah,
so 0-2 currently in the standings for Leenock, and that's kind of what Life had to endure yesterday, so a very similar situation for the both of them.
Yeah, very true. And I'm curious to see how this is going to turn out for him, because, you know, with the way he played in those last few games, I don't think he's getting out. If you ask me personally, he had a shaky ending, and then in the first game he played against Keen, just a rocky play overall. Obviously his build didn't do as much damage as he wanted to, but...
Game number 2 was horrible by him in the end. He should have won that game. If you have this many advantages and you throw the game away then with the unit control, then that was very weird. His initial hold was great. His build was really excellent. He identified what was going on, didn't play greedy, got his bases out, got his defense, got ahead in economy, got ahead in tech, and then he didn't do anything with it. Waited too long, and the unit control in the last few fights was just too poor. He needs to change something here, and he needs to make that happen really, really fast. He's going up against 3 Protoss players today, so he kind of has this problem that Lucky had for a long time, where he got a lead in the game, but then he didn't capitalize on it. So he always said that he feels Lucky is a player who's a little bit too timid, but today he's actually in the same spot.
Yeah, absolutely true. So we'll see if this can be turned around here. Pigbaby showed in the past that he loves to do timing attacks. He also did a proxy against a different Zerg player. Not on this map, but on Newkirk. He could go for a proxy on this map. That's definitely something he's shown in the past. Leenock is looking nervous again, and I don't know if it was nerves that caused him to throw that game away or what, but he definitely did not have the full focus. He had every advantage, and the game was lost regardless. So he really needs to get himself together here. Pigbaby seeming to be in a much better condition today.
Yeah, Pigbaby in general just has a really good run. We talked about his stats in PvP, even though he lost the game earlier. But in Protoss vs Zerg, it's very similar. The last few games that he played, he won all of them. He has a 71% win ratio, not the most games played, 7 maps in total. But still, it gives you a little bit of an indicator of how good he currently is and what a role he is. So Leenock is in exactly the opposite side of the spectrum. He needs to make something happen right now. Going into the game here, Leenock up against Pigbaby at the up and down Group C. In the green air.
And he's doing it.
Green Wing Protoss is starting to the top left and is dropping just the pile.
Jin Air Green Wings Pigbaby.
We were in the game later than I thought. My mistake.
Well, we have Pigbaby now here on camera, and he's of course going up against the only Zerg player in Group C at the up and downs. Starting to the bottom right of Akilon, we have the Zerg player.
FXO Leenock.
Leenock with a loss earlier against Avenge. Avenge making that comeback happen. And now he's going up against the Protoss, who has a pretty significant win ratio against Zerg. Took down Ragnarok with a 2-0, won against Sastre with a 2-0, and took down Roro with a 0-1 as well. The only match against Zerg that he really lost was a best of 3 all the way back in April, where he didn't take a map against Pet, but that was a long time ago. There was, if I am not mistaken, one of the qualifiers for WCS.
Yeah.
And now we have Leenock up against him. Leenock struggling a little bit, and he needs this win. He desperately needs it. Leenock needs to win both of his remaining matches or he's out.
The hatch, or the pool first here, is a build that's safe against most openings, but against Pigbaby's opening, it's actually not ideal. He would like to have the hatchery first, since there's no forge to pressure him, no way he could be shut down here. Pigbaby does his building placement like people used to do back in like 2010, where he makes a 1-space wall for a Zealot to block the choke. And I think he's still just going to go for a Mothership Core expand, but he's one of the first Prosses to really do this. Most people just make their gateways in the main, either behind the mineral line or just kind of in the main base to get up faster. So he's concerned about keeping Lings out of his main base with one single Zealot Warp in, so he's got a better wall than a lot of Prosses would.
Yeah, the Overlord, of course, is going to find out very soon what exactly the build of Pigbaby is, sees that, and we talked about things like this earlier when we had the match between Leenock and Avenge. As a Zerg, you usually get your third base a little bit slower if your opponent goes for this build. Leenock got it roughly around 5 minutes and played a very conservative style, keeping the drone count very low so that he could get the army out in time to just shut down the aggression. It was actually a really good move. Just his follow-up then in the end was a bit shaky.
Yep.
And here comes that drone, actually with a super fast third base. He doesn't care at all about his opponent's opening here.
Yeah, I think he realizes that he wants to catch up here because he went pool first. So this can be a big concern. I like this choice a lot, to kill these rocks. You kill the rock tower here, means that Pigbaby can't take a fast third, which so many Pro Ops players will go for on this map, going into Stargate play, as we see here. And Leenock is going to really significantly delay this third base.
This is super fast Stargate, by the way.
Yeah, it's really, really quick, even before Warp Gate research. The fastest possible Stargate you can get. And, you know, Pigbaby's not going to be happy about these rocks being destroyed for sure, if he ever wants to get a third base, which we've actually seen in the past. Pigbaby sometimes does skip that step.
The reason, of course, why you take down those rocks for your opponent is because there's another set of rocks between your natural and the third. So the Bros player kind of sneaks around that, goes into the third base, gets their Nexus up and the pylon, then kills his own rocks and then closes the entrance and walls off in addition. But now with the rocks already being eliminated and blocking, there's no way for Pigbaby to get that third before his own rocks are being taken out. So that's the thought process of Leenock here, why he does this. And he is still on the way to getting those 3 bases. He didn't even drop gas upon realizing what was happening in the main base of his opponent.
Yeah, more Phoenixes coming out here. And he's just going to kill the Overlord. He shows the Phoenixes right away. He's going to force Spore Crawlers from Leenock. Leenock adds gases, adds several drones here.
It's important for him to add the double gas because he needs to... What Leenock basically does is he gets the gas later than you usually would when you see you're up against the gateway opening, but he gets double gas instead of single gas so that he gets the speed in time if there is some kind of gateway aggression. He even goes into triple gas right now. So that's kind of the thought process between that later gas that you usually see when there's a gateway. Normally you would see the Zerg player going straight into one extractor.
Leenock is pretty supply blocked by this harassment, but luckily for him he spent most of his larva right before that happened. Gets the Overlords out right on time, not really losing a whole lot of production here. The third Overlord that's coming down, of course, was an issue, but now it's done. More drones on the way. Roach Warren goes down. Very safe follow-up here for Leenock. He's not going to go down to any pressure, and there's no Forge with this either, so he's not going to be facing +1.
Roach Warren comes up for Leenock. Very similar to what we've seen already, and straight into the lair tech, skipping on the speed for now. And that's also what he did against Avenge. It was a very good opening for him. It kind of sets you up against all kinds of attacks that the Protoss player can throw against you. So he has the Spores now to deal with those few Phoenixes that are on the map. He's harassed over Pigbaby, but the important part is really that you have the Roach Warren, that you have the speed on the way, so that you have all these things, all the tools just line up. So if there is aggression, you can react.
Nice tight wall here by Pigbaby. You know, killing a drone or two is nice by Pigbaby, but it's not gonna... Leenock's not gonna lose any sleep over that because he has a lot of production. He has 3 bases. He knows his opponent's on 2. And to lose 1 or 2 drones is not a big deal. Losing a Queen or losing a few Overlords, that's something that's quite different, though. And he may actually lose an Overlord here. I think he certainly will if microed correctly. Several drones go down here. This is starting to add up. He gets the Queen. The Spore Crawler just a little bit too late here.
Yeah, way too late, actually. He focused on the ones at the natural, and the Queens that are coming over from the natural have no chance of actually being there in time. He's going to lose another one if he's unlucky, and that's starting to really add up. That's becoming a big problem here for Leenock. That was a little, you know, this defense, that was a bit sloppy. Usually we see Leenock in much better shape against such an opening.
He usually doesn't hesitate to make the Spores, makes them all of his bases very quickly. And now he's lost the Queen, and the Hydra's response, I don't know how much I like that, because the first few Hydras are going to get killed by this many Phoenixes.
Well, the Hydralists are alright, I feel. He just needs to make sure that the first ones, he keeps them close to the hatch and the Spore Crawlers. As long as he does that, it's fine, because that's also a very heavy commitment to Phoenixes that we see here for Pigbaby. So you need to have something. And what are your choices? I mean, you can either go into the Hydralists or you can start to add a couple of Infestors, and that's not really what you want to do anymore.
Yeah, and since he lost the Queens, I guess you're right. You know, he doesn't really have much of a response here. The Phoenix otherwise are going to bully him to death.
What would really have helped him would have been a simple creep tumor in the main base to connect the main and the natural. Then those Queens that came from the natural would have been there in time for a transfuse of that Queen that was lifted in the main base. That helps a lot with the defense. But now we have a lot of damage already done by Pigbaby, so the Phoenix opening really good for him. And he also committed to more Phoenixes than you would usually see.
Yeah, that's true. He's transitioning back at home to Blink and getting his Forge upgrades out. Phoenix is continuing to give their reign of terror here. 6 of them going to finish this Overlord off, get a drone as well. He has to be careful about the Hydras. The Hydras save the Overlord.
Leenock didn't kill a thing. Nothing. 0 resources lost against 1,300. That is insanity right there. A lot of Zerg players actually these days will go into double Spore Crawlers at all of their bases when they see a commitment to Phoenixes. That's something that Leenock was trying to skip. Starcraft 2 is one of those games where you just try to get small advantages by cutting corners, but Leenock cut a few too many in this game.
Yeah. Pigbaby definitely getting massive lead in this game. He's even in a Zerg player supply at the 11-minute mark. He's also basically even in worker count. That's never what you want as a Zerg. Third base going to be finished for him relatively soon. The one thing that Pigbaby is arguably missing is, area of effect damage and a little bit of tech, but he's changing that quite easily here. He's going to finally kill these rocks, which will allow him to walk out, since he had a tight wall.
Are
as
those
natural.
9 gateways?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He did all of this on 3 gates, I believe.
Yeah, 9 gateways are being added now in addition to what he already had.
That's going to be 12 in total, if I'm not mistaken.
At the 11-minute mark, that kind of signals already that you want to be a little bit aggressive.
That's Pigbaby's style, and he has not seen, as far as I can tell, the Spire. And if he shuffles his feet here at all and Leenock can get the mutas up, we could have a base trade type game going on in our hands.
+2 has been started for Pigbaby, and he gets the Stalkers into the game. The Spire, I feel like a commitment to Mutalisk would probably help him more. There's no charge for the Zealots just yet, and no anti-air. Sorry, a commitment to Hydralisks.
Yeah.
Because Mutalisks will fight against this quite poorly. And there are the Hydras and the Roach is nice. Having a buffer at the front and then getting the Hydras for the DPS. Mutalisks would be not doing anything against this army.
He doesn't have time to get spines to save the mutas. That would be another story too. If he had seen with an Overseer the gateways, maybe, just maybe. But as it is now, he has to make these Hydras. Guardian Shield goes up here, he's picking up the Hydras, and Leenock is in some serious trouble here. He doesn't have enough units out yet. He's got a lot of Hydras on the way. A few of them popping out just now. The drone's coming off the line.
A force field on the main base on the ramp would actually deal a lot of damage here to Leenock, and that's exactly what happens. The drone's coming off the mineral line, but that's way too much for Pigbaby. He's moving in with the Stalkers. Even, of course, the Phoenix is moving in for a few lifts, and that is such a massive army. This has to be. I mean, Leenock is still at the same supply nearly, but he's dropping fast.
He's dropping fast. A bad rally at his third base. He does have a 4th finish, but it just doesn't matter. He has 48 drones only left, and the rest of the Stalkers coming through. They have Blink. There's 24 of them. +2 not even necessary for him in this fight. GG! Leenock goes 0-3.
Leenock goes 0-3 and goes straight back to the Challenger League, not winning a single map so far today. Pigbaby on a roll. Wow.
Leenock, he's having an off few weeks here, it looks like. This is just not the Leenock we've seen before. He's taking too many risks, he's cutting too many corners, he's making bad decisions in the mid to late game.
Pigbaby had the right choice. They're going for a very fast Stargate, really committing to the Phoenixes and then making them work. And Leenock did not realize how much Pigbaby really committed to this.
He never sent an Overseer to check for the gates. If he saw the gates as they were first started or as they were like maybe a third of the way done, he could have tried to make more spine crawlers and get his units out faster.
But even with that, it would have been really difficult. The problem was really how much damage the Phoenix Harass did. If you lose 1,400 resources and you don't do any damage to your opponent, you don't even take down a single Phoenix, then you can't expect to hold an attack like this.
He's losing drones, he's losing Overlords, he's losing even Queens.
Yeah, his production was limited, and Pigbaby just played better, and Leenock, he's completely off. And it's very surprising to me, because you can argue that he's one of those players who had the easiest time preparing for the group, since there are 3 Protoss players.
Yeah. Well, going into this now, we have Avenge playing his best matchup, his favorite matchup, up against the Keen. And I'm excited to see what Avenge is going to show us. He's usually very aggressive, not all in, but he likes to poke, he likes to pressure.
And this is also one of those deciding games. Avenge is currently in a 1-1 spot, and if he loses the next game against Keen, then he is going to fall down together with Leenock to the Challenger League.
Yes. He has to win it. And this is his best matchup, so he needs to just stay focused here.
Yeah, at least historically speaking, it definitely is. This is the matchup where he really surprised us in Season 1, when he was taking out opponents like Fantasy. Just very... he lost in the last round against Flash, but he could have won those games. If you just look at the results, you see that 2-0 for Flash, but that definitely doesn't tell you how those games went. It was a very close series that Avenge played here, and I feel a lot came down to him being very nervous about the series. So against a Terran player, he should feel kind of good about this.
Yeah.
but he's still in a tough spot, so this map is going to be oh so important for him.
Kane was able to take the map on Anaconda, so he's still very much in this. He would like to win the map on Whirlwind. It's a very big map, a map that's very late game oriented. And so far, Kane has been showing us twice in a row in this matchup he wants to be extremely aggressive early on, indicating that he's either nervous or weak in the late game, doesn't want to deal with that. He wants to try to get the lead early on. And I actually expect him to do something like this again. You know, he's 2 for 2 so far doing that.
Well, yeah, maybe aggression, but definitely not the same build that he used on, or a similar build that he used in the first map.
I think a totally different third type of aggressive build.
He has to, because that completely just blew up in his face, and he lost immediately. And also, Newkirk is a very different map from Whirlwind. You have a very straightforward attack route towards your opponent. So, Keen in this matchup still is pretty strong on the other hand. And, well, we're going to find out if that's coming into play here. Avenge going up against the Terran player from Team MVP. Now game here, the WCS Up and Down Group C with Cullen Wolf.